Hey,
We made it.
so made
Wow.
it. Yes.
We're Bubble Dutch live,
Come on, 22.
but we have a Scottish person in the mix.
Scottish.
Yeah. Oh, the music's. I can hear that music. Wow. Wow. Oh no, my goodness. Everything's going live. Well, welcome to Bubble Dutch tonight.
Yes.
We have a special guest. My mother.
Wow.
Wow. She's made it. She's made it. I think she's been on one of them, maybe behind the scenes
No.
more.
No, I'm very privileged and honoured to be invited.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yep.
Johnny, for having me.
Invited maybe
Trip.
15 minutes ago, potentially.
Triple Dutch.
Potentially, whoever's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
adopted Dutch. darling.
Hello, Idaho. Hello, Joe Taylor. I do have fresh socks on. Maybe not.
No, he's good. He's
Yeah.
good.
Well, I think it would be cool to. I wanted to get both of you on because I guess we had someone here from. Actually, don't know what.
Billy Graham Association.
Billy Graham Association, and we're kind of talking about the back in the day stuff, and I do forget how many things I guess you guys have been a part of previously, and so I thought it'd be cool to talk about it
Yeah.
in the chat. If you have anything you want to ask, that's also good. I don't know if there's no promises that we'll ask it, but wow.
Yeah.
Well, you actually were part of the very first event that we did with the Billy Graham Association, Jonathan.
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the coordinator for Billy Graham Association in 1994 was Blair Carlson, and he came to visit me when I don't think you were even 1 day old, and he came to visit me in hospital with a huge big bouquet of flowers to welcome us, and he was talking with Dad about doing the Billy Graham Global Mission. And
How
yeah,
many years ago? So it's 28.
so 28 years ago.
28 years ago now.
All this,
Yeah.
there's two men
Are
in
you nearly
suits.
28? What?
There's two men in suits, you know, they looked like from the FBI or something.
These
I thought,
very
who are these
sharp
people,
men.
you know?
And I was like a
for
wreck.
America, you know?
I just had a baby, you,
Yep.
and it was just like, oh my goodness, who are these people? I've never met them before.
Well,
This-
I think it'd be cool to go through a timeline because we'll try and keep things moving, so not to cut people off. But
Yeah.
okay, so let's go. How you guys actually met? What event was it, and why were you both at it?
we were at a worship meeting, long story short, at a worship meeting in Arnhem. I was playing drums, Catherine was doing keys. Arnhem is in Holland, in middle of Holland. And one of the things happened is that the church forgot to advertise the seminar. And so nobody turned up. It was a worship seminar with Karen Lafferty, who wrote Seek Ye First, that old song, Seek Ye First the Kingdom of God.
I think the most important one though is
With
build your house on the
Build Your House on the Sandy
build your house on the sandy
Yeah,
land.
that one we learned at school.
That one. Yeah. And so I think so we had nothing to do. So we went into town and we spent the whole day together. And love is in the air. So that was
Wait,
really
how'd you
nice.
invite him? No.
But it goes back before that.
Okay, I'll find you
No,
want to
you
go back.
We're not gonna go too far back.
You got to go. You got to go
Not
back
long.
to. So we were invited to do the seminar, and I was in YWAM, and I was at the meeting. We had a night meeting where 500-600 people would come, and I was leading worship. And my friend Karen Lafferty said, "Oh, you have to meet this guy called Gideon Hoekendijk because he's gonna
It's very handsome.
give you a ride. He's playing drums, and his brother's gonna play guitar at the seminar."
Wow.
And so I thought, okay. So I asked my friend, "Can you introduce me to this guy?" And she said yes. But even before that, I'd met his mum a year before I met him. And she was really super kind to me. And she said, "Oh, I met her at a conference, at a leadership conference, and I was serving there. And every day she would come in, and I just made the decision to stay in Holland for 2 years, and I was really homesick. And she was super sweet to me. And every day she'd say, 'Oh, hello, Catherine, how are you?' And
Love you, Mom.
and she invited me to come stay for the weekend at her house. And so the plan was to stay at their house for that weekend.
Yikes.
And then my friend Karen, who was in charge of Musicians for Missions in Amsterdam, she said, "Oh, can you please help out with the seminar?" And then she said, "Oh, you get a ride with Gideon Hoekendijk." So before the service, I looked across the room and I saw this guy, this really handsome guy, and I thought, I'm going to marry him. And he looked at me and he stared back at
I was
me.
so embarrassed, honestly.
And that was before the service.
That's so lame.
And then
I was far away, you know. It's like far away with like this blonde, blue eyes.
you did ask. And then
unbelievable.
anyway, after the service, I said to Belinda, can you introduce me to Gideon, this guy Gideon? She says, takes him to me. And it's the guy that I was staring at.
That was
across the
hugely
room.
embarrassing.
And he'd just had his 22nd birthday and his father had given him his signet ring. And he turned it round. And the very first thing he said to me was, just married.
Just married.
Why would you even say
And
that?
I think this guy's
I don't
a
even know
muppet.
why I said it. I was so nervous. This is unbelievable.
And anyway, yeah, we
Nice.
got a ride. We meant to go to Arnhem to do the seminar on the Saturday, and they hadn't advertised it. So we ended up hanging out in Arnhem the whole day, and it was cool. And that's how we met.
And then what? How do you guys keep going?
Well, because his family used to come to our Sunday night services in YWAM. And after that one day, he just kind of kept pursuing me.
Kept going.
He
Yep.
tracked me
How'd you
down in Portugal when I was on tour there one time. He managed to phone. This is before the day of cell phones. And you must have made like 100 calls to find me in
no Instagram?
Portugal.
Yeah, I find you.
No Instagram, no Facebook.
Took her out for dinner.
It's kind of, yeah.
And you took her
And
out for dinner in Portugal. Did you go to
No,
Portugal?
no.
and then the
no,
next
no.
thing we did was a Dutch worship album, which we ended up both playing on. And so we did that, and then
That was fun.
we did a number of things over the next year, and then the end of that next year, I think I went home, didn't I, for 4 months. And Karen Lafferty had sort of said to us, I'm going to take a worship team on tour through Asia. Would you guys like to come? And
Sure.
I can't read that.
It's just love to connect, though, eh, Catherine?
Love to connect. Yeah, thank you,
That was
Joey.
her Instagram handle for a million years.
And anyway, so I went home for 4 months, and then Gideon met, and we met in Japan, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And we did a tour all through Asia. Went into different concert venues and just did worship music, did gospel music. We went into prisons. We went to refugee camps, and we played. And we went to Japan and the Philippines and Singapore, Malaysia.
I want to hit on that a little bit, because going over it pretty quickly, is that you guys toured quite a lot. So you toured through Karen Lafferty?
Yeah, pretty much through YWAM.
band, yeah.
So everything was like on budget level. So like I told you, I did a tour with her because I was playing keyboard for Karen. She's an American singer, and we did this tour all through Portugal, and it was really a basing and a bounding. So like one night we stayed with this widow, and it was an amazing. She had nothing. The only possession that she really had was an encyclopedia. And and she was so proud to show us this encyclopedia. And she fed us day-old bread, and that was it. And then the next night we stayed with another family, and they took us in. It was a mansion, and they were the owners of it was called Peter Pan Lingerie in Portugal.
So
and
you went from
we went from
barely
that.
bread.
And then to this,
And
and
into
we
this
had a
mansion the
suite
next
each. They says, "Oh, this is your room," and they say, "Oh,
That's
sweet." We get to, we'd shared, had to bunk in together before, and then anyway, she said, "Oh no, this is your suite, and your suite's over there." And then the next day, we got to go along and pick out whatever underwear that we wanted to do. But so. And that's what it was like in YWAM. Sometimes, we had lots, and sometimes we had not very much. But
It's like Paul, isn't it? In the Bible.
but God
Paul
always
went.
just took care of us,
He
and
just
it was
unhappy.
fun.
So I want to sit more on this touring thing, because I guess people want to know,
Yeah.
especially musicians. You're touring. How'd you So you toured with Karen Lafferty,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
What was that? Like, what was that for? Like, was it just what was it equivalent? How can people understand what it was like?
Well, it's really an outreach. We were the City Lights band. The City Lights band. Karen Lafferty and the City Lights band. And we had some musicians from all over the world in our band.
Yeah.
And we just traveled with her and just to minister to people. And so we ministered, like I said, churches, prisons, share the gospel.
Churches, prisons,
whatever.
big events. I did a really big event. There was 5,000 people in Denmark and Randers. Yeah, we did a big
Germany,
one
remember the big
in
one in Germany?
Switzerland and Germany,
Nice.
all around Europe.
Just ministering to people. Just
yeah,
ministering.
so
Christian music.
it's essentially like equivalent to like Maverick City, for example.
Yeah.
Any of the
Yeah.
gospel artists. Yeah, any. Yeah.
Okay. And so what was your biggest crowd?
25,000.
That's for young people's EO Jongerendag, Young People's
Yeah.
Day in Holland. It's televised. Incredible.
Yeah. we were just talking about that today because actually the state TV paid for that. And so that had always been a day where all the youth, 20, 25, 30,000 young people would come together. And like the first time they went from having organ as the music, because we're talking about the 80s, 1980s.
Holland.
And then
well,
so we
true.
went from that being the church kind of music to being the first praise band.
Ever.
And I got to lead the praise band, which was pretty cool.
My brother was in it too, guitar. He
Gideon's
was very
brother
good. He was very
play
good.
guitar. And that first year, don't know if you've ever heard of BB and CC Winan.
No, you talked about it
And
today. I don't know that.
man, amazing musicians. Some people might
Black
know
gospel.
who BB and CC Winan were. They were the artists for the day, but we got to play on that. And then actually the next year we got married and came to live in New Zealand, and they actually paid for me to go back and be the
So how did you engage? Let's keep these
Engage.
Yeah.
And get engaged.
Yeah. How'd that happen? How'd the
Oh, I
It had to
asked,
happen.
asked a nice question. I went to Chinese. Our favorite Chinese restaurant was called the Lange Muur, the Long Wall, the Great Wall, of course, in Holland and then in Zwolle.
Yeah.
And I prepared, this ring or that ring for her, and I asked her to marry. Yeah, it's wonderful.
What was the build up for it? Was there a
well, we had 3 years.
balloon and
No.
Actually, to be honest with you,
People didn't do
how
that
things
back
have
then.
developed is so amazing.
It was like-
Special. That was
Yeah.
just like anywhere really.
Now it's a big thing to do this
Yeah.
whole production,
Yeah.
when you propose. But it was pretty
Just
simple.
at a
and-
special place that we always went to for
Yeah.
Chinese,
and it
Chinese
was
Indonesian,
great. It was
beautiful
great.
place,
Look.
very romantic.
so I'm trying to get to New Zealand now. So you guys moved to New Zealand. Why did you originally move to New Zealand?
We moved to New Zealand
Try-
to be 1 year,
try and
but
keep
basically
it nice and
to get to know her culture for 1 year. Be here for 1 year, check it out, and go back to
What was your
Holland
first experience of New
and
Zealand?
take over. Oh, I was made. The first was lamb chops, endless lamb
remember you
chops.
saying.
And remember,
ice cream.
in those days you
Top ice
can
cream.
buy big bags. They're all frozen and very cheap. Massive bag. And we would have endless lamb chops, and endless tip-top ice cream. And honestly, it was so beautiful. I thought this is the land of milk and honey, It's chops and ice cream. So that was really nice. But that was more the food. But it was really lovely here. And I think I really love the people, and I love the nature, and I love being even away from Holland, because all my family is there, which I love, of course. But it was also, they all have their jobs and things. And for me, I was like quite unique here, coming back, go so far away. You're like your own person, and then I wanted to go back and be part of the big thing again, like we do in Europe and Holland, and it was all this ministry and all these people and all this whatever, and then we asked God to talk to us about whether we should go back to New Zealand or whether we should stay in Holland. I got an offer for Integrity Music.
So wait, so you went to New Zealand for a
New
year,
Zealand, yeah.
and then you went back.
Back to Holland?
And then you're trying to
No,
pray.
no, we didn't.
pray.
No,
What?
we didn't.
What did we
Because
do?
actually, after the first year in after the
both.
first year in
I
New
think
Zealand, we moved to
I see
Singapore.
Lloyd.
Oh, the grote lijn. Ik heb de grote lijn.
we moved to Singapore, and then I got pregnant in Singapore, and then we went to Holland, and we thought we might stay in Holland then. But
You're involved with the YWAM in Singapore as well, right?
yes, and we set up the Festival of Praise
School of
and
Music
School of
Ministry.
Music Ministry.
It's still running there, right?
With Jimmy and Carol Owens,
Crazy.
and the Garretts came,
Yeah.
and Bob Fitz came, and a number of
Wow.
other people. Were
So what,
were
when
part
was
of
this?
that.
Like we're talking.
So
25
1990.
No, that wouldn't be 25. We took
1990.
so 30 plus years
Yeah,
ago.
Yeah,
1990.
32 years
Because our
ago.
first event here was in
You could've been
91.
Could have been around.
And then, anyway, we went back to Europe. Dad was offered an amazing job with Integrity Music, and we thought, okay, we're going to stay here. And then,
And
So
then,
Integrity Music, but let's give context to that. Integrity Music back then was
Hillsong of
the
today.
Hillsong of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maverick City even now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maris,
Yeah.
Bethel,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever.
It's kind of the biggest music group
and
of the day.
he was offered
For you.
the marketing manager for all of Europe.
How'd you get that?
We knew
I
people.
didn't want to do it in the end.
Wait, you did? Oh, so you got offered it, but you didn't take it.
No. Because I prayed,
Wow.
and God gave me Isaiah 24. And it says, at the end, I hear singing from the ends of the earth, from the islands of the sea. I hear glory to the righteous one. At the ends of the earth, islands of the sea,
Yeah.
Jesus. So I felt like I need to go to New Zealand and make Jesus famous. And that's what my call is. It still is.
Because I don't think people realize is that Holland and Christchurch are very, very far away from each other. As in like,
The furthest,
well, it's like,
the furthest you can get.
yeah, there's not many places that are further. Or it's Israel, right?
No, they're very far
Christchurch is the furthest
each
city
other
from each other. Yeah.
in many, many ways. But we came back to New Zealand because, which was great because God needed to
Faye
speak
Wilson
to...
says lovely wedding in New Zealand.
Who's his?
Faye Wilson.
Oh, that's my cousin, Faye.
No, I don't know. That.
She's my first cousin.
Yeah, she's my auntie.
Hello,
My
Faye.
auntie that I don't know of.
No, she's not an auntie. She's
Okay.
my cousin.
So she's my second
Yeah, and
great aunt.
we got married in 1988, the end of 1988. So, and then
Had a celebration in Holland. Big celebration.
So, yeah, because you had 2 weddings, which
Yeah.
people
we
don't
did.
realize.
So official here later on, but there was more celebration.
So did you get legally married over there though?
No,
No.
here. We're not married legally there.
So you
I had a suit on,
to-
and she was all in blue.
This is a weird conversation to have, but you essentially held off.
We had no sex.
till
No, we had no sex
New
for
Zealand
3
wedding?
No
years.
sex.
No, for 3 years we never had it. So we
This
kept
is such a weird conversation.
we kept like pure.
we really believed that to honor God, that we would wait until we were legally married before we had
Our first night
our
was
first intimate.
right here at. I
Crown
just
Plaza.
drove past
Did
it
you say?
today.
No, it didn't.
At
Chateau on the
Chateau
Park.
on the Park.
In the round room.
The mirrors on the top.
And that is how I met your mother.
No. Anyway, let's get back to the real story.
Yep.
So after we came back from Europe,
Cheers.
yeah,
Bex is in the room, by the way. She's
we
producing.
had
Good job, thank you.
we had David in January 1991,
Yeah.
and at the same time we were talking.
Wait, so you got married what year was that?
88.
88, so 3 years. And then
Yeah.
Because you were in YWAM at the time when you
Yeah.
produced.
No,
Fabian?
no,
Dave, sorry?
no.
We're back here now.
We were back here.
Okay.
We
Yep.
had jobs,
Mhm.
and that time we got in contact, or we were having conversations with Rick and Patty Riding, who now run the prayer house, which is called Sukkot Halal in Jerusalem,
That's
24-hour.
Who we
7.
support as a church. No?
Who we knew because they had actually been missionaries in Belgium before they went to Israel. And they said, we've written this musical called Pray for the City.
A musical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
musical.
Oh, they're very
What the
musical. And they said,
Bex, you
we'd
can make a
love,
musical.
it's like a prayer concert
Hmm.
written into a musical.
Yeah.
And they said, we'd love to come
So
and
like,
share it.
wait, we're talking about like a drama thing. So like going in and out of
worship
like,
into
Well-
talking into
so like a
talking
Prayers.
into prayers
like
into
equivalent to like an
worship.
almost Easter service of today.
Yeah, a bit like that.
Yeah,
Ah.
sort of thing.
The whole evening.
Wow.
And with slides,
OHB. Little overhead. What is it called?
we had
Little
full on
slides.
slides.
Nice.
Full of
Um,
slides.
And that was, that
Black
was
and white colour.
that was the technology of the day.
I
What was the
remember
main
it
song?
was like
What
that
We
in
didn't
school,
have
though.
you then, Johnny.
What was the main song again they wrote?
Pray for the
Yeah, let's pray for the city. For the event. What's
sleeping
the,
church.
yeah, no, they were known for.
Oh, exalt.
Oh yeah, Lord our God, and worship at His footstool. Holy is He. It's one of the big songs before your time. I know, but that's the big songs of those days.
So anyway, they said, would you do it in New Zealand? And we said, yeah, we'd love to. And that's when we set up Harmony Ministries, actually, when we did that
Original
event.
Harmony Ministries.
Yeah, and because we were working right across the board with all different churches right up and down the country, 15 different cities. So what we did was we sent the music for the musical ahead to all the different cities, and we organised a choir in each of the cities, and they learnt all the music, and we toured with a band,
In the yellow bus.
and
I
we
remember that the Clarks had.
yeah,
it
and
last
we
night.
Yellow
had
bus.
because David
goodness.
was only 9 months old. We had Nellida Pennington,
Oh my goodness.
Nellida Johnston,
Yeah.
Yeah, those years. Yeah.
and Sue Warrington, because Ed
Nice.
came on tour with us as nanny, and looked after David when I was working
So
with the
crazy.
choir or
So
when I was
connected.
playing, because I was
Yeah.
still playing, and we did 15 city tour, and like we did the town hall here, filled the town hall. It was incredible, and had
Filled
all the
town hall.
denominational leaders praying for Christchurch. It was phenomenal time, and everybody said we couldn't do it.
So how did you even want to do it? Like how did?
I can only say it was God.
Just my
Like,
heart.
where did it come
big
from?
church together. I mean, I was raised in a conference center in Holland, and so you do conferences, And I think there's something in me about the uniting of churches, the uniting of people, which is dear to my heart. So for me, that was something very natural, spiritual. And so for me, that was really hard, yeah.
But you think about it.
So you essentially started with a musical.
Yeah, with the prayer for the city, with prayer.
Pray for the city. It was intercession prayer.
So how many people do you reckon were influenced by this, or like in the congregations overall?
20,000 people.
Yeah.
We had 2,500 here. We had over 4,000 in Auckland, and all the other ones. I don't know how many thousand. Wellington. I remember the Dunedin Town Hall full. It was amazing.
That place is huge.
Hastings, or wherever we went to.
But it was at a time where the churches came together. You know, like we had the beginning of last year. We had that the
one call.
Open Heaven.
Open Heaven.
So
Well, it was
different,
kind of like that.
Yeah.
Except there was probably more different denominations represented because it was like right across the board, which was quite amazing. But
Anglican, Catholic,
Jonathan, we were
everything.
your age. You were turning 28 in 3 weeks, and we were your age. So I mean, you've already done quite a lot for your age, and you can imagine that we had that same drive and desire, and we had the opportunity, and we had the experience, and we had the connections.
Very well connected.
And we were also connected with Radio Rema. That was quite a very big force here in Christchurch and Birmingham Drive at that point.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I had worked at Radio Rema as a teenager.
Before you went over to
Before I went over to YRAM, I actually took over Vicky Flaum's job in
my
reception,
gosh.
which is like,
people.
I know there's just so many connections. It's like so weird. But God works through, He works through relationships. He works through connections. And so, yeah, Joe Taylor, I'm all about connections. I think it's really important because God never works in a vacuum. He always works with people. He always works with the relationships. And, you know, you'll find over your life that there's just some people that just are meant to be part of your life. And you just you just never know why they're part of your life, but they just keep turning up, and you just keep having these intersections in life where you come across them again. And it just seems to be the way it goes. I mean, we had a very, very, I think it was a strange one of those intersections, and that, for me, God was taking me on this thread where God had always been sort of bringing significant people into my life, even as a small child, who were Dutch. There was a man, Hank, who used to call me Biddy. That was my nickname.
Biddy.
Did you know that? I probably never told you that.
Biddy.
And that was given to me by this Dutch man. And then my piano teacher was Dutch, and then I just ended up having all these Dutch friends. But one of my Dutch friends in special choir, her name was Mahalia. And anyway, my last year in Holland, in YRAM, her parents came to do a DTS. So it's like, you're Mahalia's parents. Bongers,
in the middle of
in the middle of nowhere. But wait, who did it turn out that Mahalia's godfather was? But your father's father, your opa. And I'm going like, what?
Small world, hey?
That is so bizarre.
Little town in Christchurch.
I know.
A friend, their godparents were.
I know. It is like so weird. Yeah.
So we had the first thing, which was a musical, which was quite influential. So it was the first Harmony Ministries thing.
Yeah.
And you guys came back, and you're like, this is it. This is kind of like we're going down the events space.
Yeah. Unity churches combining.
Yeah. What was next? What was after the?
Well, we talked
musicals?
we were talking with Graham Kendrick, who of course was in those days the Darlene Check of those days. Actually,
Okay,
Darlene
who's the
Check was of those
Darlene
days.
There's
No,
whatever.
Because
Brooke Fraser.
Brooke Fraser.
Brandon Lake.
He's like
name.
probably the most prolific Christian songwriter of last century.
Yeah.
He was quite.
Yeah. No, he was. No, because
for
we
so
had,
long.
For sure, 100%.
At school, we learned about him.
100%.
I remember we had him. I think we had him over
Shine,
for dinner
Jesus,
or something
Shine.
like that.
Totally.
So we had him for a conference.
Yeah, he was
All those songs.
Yeah.
We had him.
Oh, several times.
Shine, Jesus.
Several times.
I just remember we're at school, and my music teacher was like, "Man, this person is this," and we're like, "Listen to all his music." I was like, "I had dinner with him like last week. Like,
Yes, you did.
He's this big celebrity." I'm like, Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was like, that's cool. But
So,
like,
so we were talking
but
to
you
him.
don't-
Yeah.
I don't know.
And he says he was writing because he says we're taking. He was actually talking to us. I don't know when, but he says we're taking praise and prayer onto the streets. March for Jesus was born.
So
And
Graham Kendrick.
Yeah, Graham Kendrick. So we went to England, and the only time we could meet with him is in the car for 5 hours, going to a concert with him, which
So he let
we
you just
which
jump
we
in
did.
for the
Jumped in the
transport?
car and just talked on the way to the concert. And then he says, "Let's come to New Zealand," and he came. And for 10 years, that was our life. And in the end, we had 100 March for Jesus events, all simultaneous with with Radio Rema. Simultaneous.
Didn't know that.
All Radio Rema, the music through the airwaves on big loudspeakers on top of cars,
Do remember that.
It's unbelievable. We had like 10,000 people here, 25,000 people Auckland.
So how did you initially start it though? Like, how did
Small.
you?
Go to the churches,
Yeah.
and because we had the relationship now, because Pray for the City, and because there was, of course, marches in the 70s, there had been marches here, Jesus marches. So it was not completely new, although some of the people ask if it's really the time now to do it again. And I said, no, I think it is. And even some of our own pastors said, no, I don't think so. I said, yes, I think it is. Anyway, in the end, we proved that it was that way. And it was amazing how we could just worship on the street and get all this. But I had to go, I worked for years. I had a letterhead, and on the side were all the bishops of this country, Bishop, Anglican, Catholic, you name them, and they were all involved because Graham was quite neutral with his songs, and a lot of churches would sing his songs, and so we were able to just get all the AOG, Pinnacle, all those church leaders from Wellington,
denominations.
involved on letterhead, and then I had local coordinators in each city, and they would draw all the people together. And all this kind of stuff.
So that is Harmony Ministries. That is.
That was one of the main
yeah.
ones of Harmony Ministries.
Originally.
And throughout that time, of course, we did a lot of tours and brought people like David Meese and people like Graham Krennick, of course, people like
Steve Green.
and all of Israel Houghton, and you
March for
name them.
Jesus was epic.
Ron Connolly, one of my favorite, March for Jesus. I love Ron Connolly.
Ron
It was
Connolly,
amazing. Israel Houghton. So we love music, and of course, Bob Fitz, of course. And so often we would play with these bands too, of course. We just love music. So we would play with the bands.
But at that time, not split off, but you kind of went Harmony Ministries and you went to Sprayton.
Yeah, 1993, I went on to, because obviously we weren't earning.
I did have that question, but we talk about
Yeah.
we talk about money
Yeah.
quite a bit. How did you afford to do these
So-
things back in the day?
Well, it
We
was
had no
just,
money.
it was all a miracle.
We had
It
no
was
money.
all miracle stuff.
Student
honestly.
allowance.
Oh,
for
did
you
that
for a
car
while.
thing?
No,
the
that
cars thing.
Oh, we were,
We worked for a while too.
we were sitting, can I mention that name? I think I can.
Yeah, fine.
Mentioned every other name.
Oh,
so you
yeah.
probably can get
Okay.
away with it.
So we were
Jesus.
sitting in our lounge one day, and we didn't have a lot of money. And Leo Hansen drove into our driveway, and there was a nice Nissan Bluebird
Triple X.
sitting in the
Triple C,
driveway, and
Triple
he came in and he said, "Oh, hi guys, how you doing? And oh, do you like that car out there?" We go, "Yeah, nice car." And he just tossed the keys to us and said, "It's yours." And we go like, "What?
I don't know. I forgot it was him.
What?"
He said, I talked to my buddies at Integrity
And now
Cars.
his church is
And
literally
I've got,
Yeah.
you
down the
got
road.
and he says, like, I want you guys. We were so embarrassed by the artist that you brought. You had this little Datsun thing, and it was such a small little
In
car.
white.
And all those guys. And I thought, in the end, it says, we want you when artists come and speakers come, make sure that you have a nice car.
For sure.
So that's one of the reasons for it. But it was such a blessing. You know, yeah, of course,
Far
Jeff
out.
Bullock for
And
years.
somebody
too.
else,
And
our-
Ian White
our
often.
beautiful friends in LA, they gave us a deposit for a house.
Hmm.
They gave us 10,000 US, which was like 22,000 Kiwi dollars, and that's how we actually got our house. It's a total miracle story. God just provided for us miraculously, and there was just like, I mean, yeah. It was incredible. And then anyway, our home church was Sprayton Baptist back then, and
That's where I grew up as well.
and that's where you grew up, and this job came up available part time, and there was two of us went for the job, and they asked us, could we work together, and I said, "Oh, I'm not sure if that'll work." And so I just said, I'll take my hand out, my name out of the hat. And then 3 months later, they came back and they said, "We actually want you." And so I got the job, and then it ended up being a full-time job and developing the whole huge team, creative team. And we started on Sunday night developing a whole kind of seeker-style service which was like a
So what's
full
Seeker? I didn't actually know that name for a long time. I don't actually know what it means.
What it meant was really that we wanted to create the kind of service that was less, I guess, religious in a way, but it was still very spiritual, obviously. It was still full-on God story. But we'd we'd only sing 3 songs, and then we'd have probably 2 musical items. There would be
I
like...
remember the items, because I remember you guys did like a Spice Girls thing.
we did Spice Girls one time.
It was so random.
We did
Money.
from Pink Floyd. And we had a full-on drama team, and Sharon Newell was part of that.
Wow.
And Warren.
Who spoke.
Wow.
And we had an amazing time.
Oh my goodness.
By the way, this is some of the other day, Matthew Waite here, he found some of the posters. I've got actually a whole bag of posters. This is a Bob Fitz tour that we used to do. And you can see the Harmony logo there at the bottom, which was very colorful. And this is one of those beautiful. Bob's one of my favorite worship leaders of all time.
So if you listen to this podcast version, he's got an old Bob Fitz poster, and it has all the ones that got Tuesday, Victory Church, it's still
Where is it?
New Life, Integrity Music, Social
Auckland. This is only Auckland, Christchurch.
Harmony Ministries, a Gold Club member.
I had a whole thing. I had a membership thing.
Yeah,
That's
people
right.
came.
To make money.
They loved it.
Every month they gave like $25 or $50. Yeah.
That makes sense.
That was amazing.
Oh, that's
And
good.
like a special could
That's
meet
quite
the
smart.
artist or do whatever, It's really cool. Special seats.
Because technically you're not a
But I
local
think-
church, so you have
No, we weren't.
The
We
trust,
weren't.
a
But
trust.
our local church were amazing support to us. And
This was Spraden days?
Yeah, it was at Spraden. We were always at Spraden. We were at Spraden for 30 years before we planted Harmony. So that was, our home church. I mean, obviously we had a year in Auckland at Green Lane Christian Centre, but for the rest it was 30 years at Spraden Baptist, which is now Southwest Baptist. But we've seen God's faithfulness in incredible ways, and we just had this heart to bring the body of Christ together. And as it says in Isaiah 24, to make his praises known from the ends of the earth, from the islands of the sea, and that's really what we've been about.
So last year we didn't celebrate it, but I reminded Catherine last year was actually 30 years of ministry for us here, which we didn't celebrate, but it was cool.
As in like Harmony Ministry?
From 91, all the way from Harmony Ministries into Harmony Church up to now. So it's 31 now.
So did you incorporate non-profit Harmony Ministries? Or is it a completely different entity?
No, because we weren't even sure that we were going to call Harmony Church Harmony. We put it to the team at the time, and actually we tossed around a whole bunch of different names for Harmony Church.
I remember.
But in the end, the team all came back and they said, look, we just think that it's got to be Harmony. And so...
It represents us so well.
Yeah.
And our theology, the whole
So,
thing.
but like before Harmony, so we went up to Green Lane. You were marketing director.
I was marketing director.
You were doing conferences for Bible College.
So I was doing Bible College. I was national marketing director and finished my master's of theology at the same time.
Yeah.
And while I was doing this, we did another big conference for quite a few years, which was called Kingdom Builders.
I remember that.
And I'll bring some of the best artists and speakers around the world to this thing, and local speakers. And it's quite a variety, eclectic thing of just speaking into the variety of church life in this nation. Powerful conferences, isn't it?
I do remember that. Because I guess you got the best. Because we still kind of do that now. You get the best of the best of each area.
Yeah.
Quick hi to Joe, Aroha, Pearl and Mark, and Sue Lloyd. Oh, Simon Fraser, I see that. Tim Lee, man. Wow.
Nice.
If you have any questions, please say it. Do you guys, any of you have degrees?
Yeah, so I've got a marketing degree and a degree of what I've taught before.
I remember when
A master's
in your
of
office
theology.
in Bible College, there was a marketing degree, and there was also a degree. Do you remember the other degree that was next to it? You probably will. It started with D. I said dip.
Oh,
dip bread.
No. Okay, but we're not going to say it on.
Oh.
It was for being a dip.
Oh, they made it funny.
Yes,
they make a
they
joke
did make
out
it
of
funny.
it.
Yeah.
I didn't remember
I remember
that.
that. I remember looking in every time I got into Dad's office. It was
They made a
a
joke.
dip
That's
and then
funny.
the S word. It was very interesting. I don't know why they.
I even
know why
got
they
Catherine's got a music degree.
I know,
right?
outrageous, right?
well, I didn't go to university until I was 41 because I went through school believing I wasn't that smart.
You had teachers telling you that,
Yeah.
right?
Actually,
Principal?
the school principal not university material, not now, not ever. and then anyway, it turns out that they were really wrong. And when I did do a music degree in my 40s, which was amazing. I actually did stage 1 psych first.
That's right, I remember that.
Psychology first, and then I ended up doing a music degree. And then I went on and did adult teaching and learning and a few other things,
But instead of finishing it, we started the church, right? Is that what happened?
No, so I went to grad school because I was going to thought, I kind of got into this position where a number of women around me lost their husbands and they were left to raise their children on their own, and I kind of hit the panic button thinking,
what happens to me?
And
What's he going to do without you?
What would I do if anything happened to Gideon, and how would I support myself? So I took myself off to grad school. I got halfway.
Out of fear of being divorced.
No, there wasn't just divorce.
People
died. Yeah,
Nah, he's not okay.
people
Worse than
died.
divorce.
Yikes.
A number of my friends had.
Quick shout out to Colleen and Grace.
Yay!
Grace Irving.
Hey,
Crazy. We're
Grace.
talking about the old days. We're going
The old
back in
days.
the
Oh my
That's
God.
Oakland's days.
Wow.
That's it.
Grace Irving, she was amazing.
So you ended up
Great
getting
singer.
a degree. So what are your degrees right now?
So my it's a music degree, but I didn't complete my teaching degree because I thought I was going to just do itinerant teaching, but I should have gone to Teachers College and I went to grad school.
Flip. And then, Dad, you do have a degree.
So I got the
Officially?
marketing degree from Holland.
Yep.
And I got this.
So wait, when did you do that? When you were before?
Before, before and during Mum. Yeah, during. In Holland. But during your time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Used
I
to.
finished it during the time. And then I also did my master's. I studied for 20 years. But I did my master's, dip grad, but also a master's of theology. And I was going to do my PhD actually in theology, but in the end,
I think
because
you're so
church was so busy.
But that was it.
And,
Like, I think the transition there was, we started church.
And it was
then-
like full on.
It just got really.
But you might go back to it still, right? PhD?
It's
think-
all
2 years,
possible.
right?
She wants to do some stuff too.
I would love to see him do that.
Oh, you want to do some study too, don't you?
Yeah, I'd like to still do some more studies. That's going to challenge me.
I think we've always hello from on the yacht from Paul Reese Thomas.
Oh,
Oh.
nice.
Hey,
Say, Paul.
Yeah, because we've I guess it's the thing we're all kind of upskilling. I think that's something that I've learned as well, is that even during it you're still reading books as if you're doing master theology and you're still going all PhD. You've cut. I mean, obviously COVID's being tough with trying to upskill at the moment.
Yeah.
But you're trying to, because you did sign up originally. I was also
Yeah.
signed up for uni for this semester, but COVID was too unstable for us to be like, okay, let's do this as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you continue learning through life and continue to upskill. And I think once you get to the place where you think that you know it all, or you don't need to keep learning, then you've actually lost it. Then you're saying
for sure.
you're going backwards.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I'm always hungry to read and research and find out new stuff.
I like to write some books too. I've told for so long now.
You have talked
but
about
I
it
just
for
have
long.
to do it.
I think the big
I
thing,
just have the
because
time
like
to
that's
do
the thing, the communion is like the number one at least.
It is. And I'm actually doing a series on communion the next couple of weeks. So there will be more revelation even for myself. Even today I got some more revelation. So that's really cool. So I'll share it on Sunday. But yeah, that's good to learn and to grow and to put things to paper, you know?
It's good. It's good. That's really good. And so I guess let's talk about, so came out of Auckland, and then we came back to Christchurch, and we're going to go back to church as usual.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, we had a year in Auckland, and during that year, my father died, and there was a whole bunch of things that happened, and we just really felt like the quality of life that we were giving you kids was really not the same as what we had back here. And so we decided, so we decided that we would move back to Christchurch, which was ultimately a really great decision. But at the time, our pastor up in Auckland, he said, well, the only good reason I could see for you to come back to Christchurch is to plant a church. And I think that was like the last thing on our mind at that point. We weren't ready. We just wanted to come home and go back to our house. We hadn't sold it. We'd rented it out and just go back to life. Gideon kept working in Auckland for 4 years.
I remember that.
So Monday he would fly up to Auckland and he would stay there until Friday. And he'd come home for the weekend. Sometimes he came home Thursday night, but mostly it was Friday. And that was quite hard. And I think, it was pretty hard on you kids, probably especially David at that time, because he was used to having dad around all the time. And you were a little bit younger, but it was at an important time for him. So we got to the point where it was like, okay, we either move back to Auckland or you move, we find another job. And it turned out pretty good, didn't it?
So it was 4 years before you even looked at Harmony, or
we were sat in the back of our church and just sitting there. And I actually do some else. I was involved with a nutritional company, Manatech, and I work with that health products. And I was so good at selling that I won all these trips to Beijing and to Rarotonga. Me and my friend in Auckland, we're actually very good salespeople.
You guys did a good job.
And we had so much fun too. So we traveled the world actually and took the world with us. And
I went to university.
She did.
That's right. That's
when I went to university. Actually, first I did School of Living Wisdom.
That's right.
Which really changed my life and really helped.
And then me too.
With a whole bunch of things.
And then we had a life group going through it every day, every night with that life group for years.
Yeah, I remember that. It's quite a cool squad that were going through it.
No, it's really powerful.
It was really great.
And so then.
And after that we. How do we thought about church?
Well, actually, I think we ended up praying, and just increasingly we just felt like a stirring, and we loved our home church, but I think we increasingly, having been in Auckland and through Dad's study, we've realised that we were going on a slightly different track, and so we started, really praying into, well, was that something that we should be thinking about doing? And then we were at multiple meetings where we were called out in the crowd, weren't we? And people were saying, oh, that couple down there, people who didn't know us, and says, I believe you're pregnant with a church.
Yeah.
And we were like, what? Okay. And so that happened like multiple times, more than once. And so we said, okay, obviously we're a bit thick. Maybe we need to pray about this. And we had a real kind of a loyalty to our home church that we felt like, that we didn't want to do that. And we wanted to be able to leave well. And anyway, through a whole process, I think God really just spoke to us about, again, about praise and worship and, his presence and building a church around his presence.
Yeah, so what was so when you had that thing of, we're going to build a church, what were the key points that were like, I want more of this than what we've had? Like, what were the things that you were like?
We've been really influenced by several things. One was through New Covenant theology. I'd done a lot of study for years and years, but when I really got to understand the New Covenant and New Creation realities, it completely changed my life, because I never got this at Bible college. And so it was actually very, very sad, but also very, very exciting. It changed my life, actually. And so that was one thing. And of course, I didn't see it at my local church, and we needed to express this somewhere and grow in it. And so there was one thing we had. Then the whole mental and emotional health thing, we felt like that's an important area of our church. Body, soul, spirit. You can be all spiritually like walking on water every day, but if you and your soul, if your mind is not your friend, how are you going to live, So that whole area, we wanted to also have some input into our lives, which we didn't see in our local church. And
I think the whole area of worship was really key for us. We believe that the works that God inspires us to do comes out of that place of presence. And so when we're in God's presence, when we're worshiping Him, where we're talking with Him, when we're making Him our priority, when we're fixing our eyes on Him, when we're lifting up the name of Jesus, and that's when God brings inspiration. He drops inspiration into our spirit. And so many of the things that were birthed through the different seasons of our life came out of times of intense worship and intense times of being in God's presence. And we wanted more of that, because we saw that actually when things came out of the throne room of God and from inspiration from heaven, things would just drop into our spirit, and God would just give us strategies of, I mean, just even hearing us talk, I don't even know how we made any of that stuff happen. I mean, it's pretty amazing, but all I can say is that came out of our times of worship, both
Yeah.
personally and corporately.
Yeah.
And God would drop ideas into our heads, into our mind, and we had the ability then to make it happen. And when it comes from the throne room of God, it's not hard work; it's easy.
Yeah, because we've been talking about that the last few weeks. Really, like it's been almost the theme
Totally.
of the whole living from presence. Because then it's
Effortless.
God vision. It's
Yeah,
like
and-
Yeah.
you know,
totally.
as soon as you God vision,
Yeah.
things are quite. If you're in chat, please let us know. But also, if you've got any questions, let us know. If you have any questions about the history of these two, Gideon and Catherine Hoekendijk, feel free to chuck in the chat. But so we started Harmony. Who did we
No.
start with?
With you.
I do.
We've been
remember
doing the three of us plus a team, but
Well, no, it really started with a group of us where we just sort of started sharing, and for a year before we actually started Harmony, we met in our home with a group, and we just called ourselves the Barbecue Club.
But
and-
that really
Yeah.
came out of the squad that was doing Living Wisdom.
It kind of did.
Like you guys were doing
Yeah.
Living Wisdom as like a life
There
group
were-
that wasn't
there were-
really connected to
yeah.
the church because they were
that's right.
from everywhere, right?
That's right. Yeah,
That,
so-
that's
yeah.
right, they were. And the other thing is that we were very conscious of because we'd been in a place of influence in our previous church, we wanted to be really careful who we shared with because we didn't want to create, division or
For sure.
we wanted to be really honouring in that way. But we also knew we were on a divergent path. And that was quite hard to walk, and sometimes we didn't walk it that well, and other times we walked it well, but we wanted to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, we did the best we could.
That's right. That's right. And
So-
very quickly we started inviting people from all over the world because we had our connections, of course. So people from all over the world started coming, and because we really wanted to train people. I mean, we wanted, in some ways, Catherine and I wanted to be more like a university than a church. But a church should be a university anyway, but we felt more like a university of teaching and training people. How do you train people? Well, it has to be intentional times of conferences and seminars and intense training, because on Sunday morning, you can only learn so much. It's really the gathering of the saints and some teaching, but to go deep, anybody's got to go to university, or you got to go through a camp or through something. And so we thought, what are we going to do? And so we started quite quickly, didn't we? Start doing
But
stuff.
the other thing is there's a lot of people who are good theorists and great academically, and they've come up with these great ideas about how to do things. And I think that when you actually have to incarnate that and actually put into practice, you have to actually make something happen. It's very different from
That's
sitting
totally different.
on the sideline and coming up with great ideas. Oh, you should just do this. You should do that. I mean, it's just like, being a parent, quick, be the best parent you can be before you have kids, because like once you
Yeah.
have kids, all those theories go out the window and you actually have to make it happen, and you realize, oh man,
How
it's
much you don't
actually,
know.
it's a lot harder than what you think it is. And some people make it look easy, and actually it's really hard. And I think, again, for us, we'd been part of two of the biggest churches in New Zealand, and then to go start from scratch with 7 families, 20, 40 or 20, 30 people we started with. And, it quickly dawned on us the realization that, man, we have to do everything ourselves. There is no team. There is no finances. There is no kids facility. There is no this, that, the other thing. Anything that we did, we had to make it happen.
We had him, though.
We had Jonathan.
That was amazing.
We had and Jonny, you volunteered right from day one to do the sound.
Yep. Yeah. No,
It's
I'm
never been
trying to figure
anybody
out.
else.
I don't want to give a real answer. Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, flip.
And very early on was Matthew Waite doing the YouTube
Doing words,
for
he just commented.
years.
Okay, so we have a few questions, real
Oh,
quick.
okay.
Who's your favorite staff member?
It's so bad. No, it's not going to happen.
I mean,
I
it's
don't have
easy,
favourites.
It's easy.
Is that Whitey?
Jonathan, of course. Jonathan.
Yay.
Yeah, that's good.
Got other staff members in the room. I'll ask you the other one.
Pass.
Who's your favorite child?
That's Whitey.
Yeah, why?
That's actually Sam Nimmer. That's the joke around here. What are you most proud about achieving individually?
It's easy. My 4 children.
I knew you were going to say that. She would totally say that.
This is my 4 children. They're my best achievement. You're my best achievement, Jonny.
No, that's actually...
I don't know what to say.
David's my best achievement. Saskia's my best achievement. Fabian's my best achievement.
I think every day, particularly when you get to us, we're close to 60 now. And I think when you look at life, I said the other day to Catherine, I said, I'm living the dream. I really am living the dream right now. And we're healthy. We've got beautiful kids. They all love Jesus. And most of them serve in the church together. We're doing this together as a family. We even go on holiday still as a family. I mean, how bad can it get? How good can it get? And so it's just so awesome. It is one of the great things, isn't it? 100%. I mean, no question about it.
And along
but if it wasn't,
but even the church. I mean, I'm very proud
and
of the church.
And if it wasn't our children, I think the best achievement, and it's not something that we can say for ourselves, but if we have been able to point anybody to Jesus or helped, even one person come closer to God and the realization of who God is, and that they can come to the greater knowledge of God's grace in their life and come to know who they are in Christ. I think that would be the best achievement.
Yeah.
We can point people
anything to add on that?
Well, totally. I mean, that's of course obviously out there, but I think I love our community. I see Bex. I mean, I love Bex. She's amazing. I mean, for her coming into our church and she's and we all. The funny thing is, I look at you and you've changed so much, Bex, and we all have changed so much. And I think, isn't it? Doesn't matter, but I can see her. But the thing is, though, it's so beautiful that all of us have come into this culture that we created together, and in this culture is so pregnant with possibilities and so pregnant with change, and we are all being changed from glory to glory. I mean, what a beautiful thing it is. And anybody who comes into this culture, they get swept away with his love and can be changed, and they become change agents themselves. I mean, how beautiful is that?
Oh, we are so blessed, and there's a lot of people knocking nepotism in church at the moment, which is really sad, because I think God designed us to be in families. I mean, it's an amazing honor and privilege for Gideon and I to be able to serve God together. And I know when we were leaving our other church, and our pastor said, well, why don't you take over an existing church? And we said, well, the reasons that we don't want to do that is because they would take Gideon or they would take me, but they wouldn't take both of us. And we really had a desire, funnily enough, we wanted to work together because we know instinctively, intuitively, that our strengths, when we can, get it together and pull together,
harmonize.
There's something really powerful in that. And then if we add our family into that mix, we're doing it together. It's incredibly powerful. And I believe it's how it was meant to be. I believe families were meant to be together, to work together, to live together. And
generations.
it doesn't mean to say you can't have your own life, because you need to have your own life.
Sure.
But what better example is there of loving on each other if you can have great family and great relationships?
Forgot. Yeah. Many things I've learned over the years from the church I'd never forget, and I'm always grateful for you guys. Oh,
who's that?
Gracie.
Grace.
Yeah. Oh, Matt, wait, here's a question. Okay, Gideon has played the drums at most of these big events. Who is the one artist you love playing drums with the most, and why?
No question, Bob Fitz. Because Bob Fitz is just such a great worship leader, and it's such a freedom, and the songs are powerful, and it's just
fun.
I mean, Graham Kendrick was great too, but it's and some other guys, but I think it's just fun with Bob. It's just great.
It's just fun.
It's just real fun, and he's so uncomplicated, and such a worshipper, and it's just wonderful. So I love that guy. One of the best experiences ever in my life. One of the hardest one was Brian Dirksen. I had played Brian Dirksen in. Brian Dirksen was top guy of Vineyard in those days. Then he went to Integrity.
What was his main song?
How to worship. Now it's the time to worship. Come, now it's time. So I was in Wellington to this concert, and all his band came, I was the only one who was not professional, just me, a little drummer, and all the guys were professionals. And they had click track, and all the stuff was with I've never heard of it before even. And so I was so loud because I was so afraid it was going out of the rhythm that I blew it because it's, but I had rings for months, my ring in my ear because I was so loud because I cannot miss this beat. But it was really fun to play with professional musicians. But it was also one of the scariest things I've ever done. Hey? Yeah. But some of those big concerts is amazing. Some of the young people, I mean, it's like nothing like it.
Yeah, I got to play.
You know?
I got
You're
to play.
Daryl Mansfield.
I played with Daryl Mansfield band. That was very fun.
This is a rocker
I
from
tried
America,
to dress
honestly.
up as a rock chick. That was hilarious. They're these big rockers and they're big hairy beasts with leather jackets and huge American people.
Honestly, they'll play the drums and he would go through the snare. He said they got a new
He
snare.
was just like-
He'll hit the snare so hard that he would go straight through it.
And they
put
needed a
new-
keyboard player for their TV thing in Amsterdam, and so I got to play with them. That was funny. And then I actually got to play keys for one song for Andre Crouch
Oh, I know who that is. I know the name.
in Majestic,
least.
way back in the day in Majestic House when Andre came with the disciples.
Jesus is
And,
the answer.
And I had to
Oh,
play
the world today.
in D flat, whatever it was he was singing. And I was like, he just started and he says, "Oh, just follow me," and I go like, "Ah!"
There's no answer.
So then,
Jesus
you know
is
what
the
I've been talking
way.
to the worship team about, practicing the circle of fifths. Man, I was grateful for that right in that moment because I could just like jump into D flat and I was okay.
But it's a circle of life. I just want to just shout out to Mum. You know, she's 80 now. We'll see her in a couple of months' time. And I stand on your shoulders, Mum and Pop, and you, of course, with Opa and even further afield. I mean, we're all in the generations. I love this. Nepotism is just, I think it's an evil word. I think nepotism is just a very negative word because I think God is a God of generations. And even if I look at churches and businesses around the world, when they be taken over by family that are trusted and we give our lives to each other, then often things will go well. It doesn't get taken out by something, other things, or just been, undermined by some weird something. There's a stability, there's an honor both ways, and it's just God is always a God of generations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be six. What?
16, sweet 16.
16 in December.
Yikes.
Well, you don't look 60.
And
Catherine.
it's like pretty shocking and it's like pretty confronting. But this year, I do every year do the women's conference, Wild, Strong and Free. And this year I've really had it on my heart for it to be from generation to generation
Cool.
as a theme, because I just really feel like it's really important. What Dad's saying is, from generation to generation, it says in the Bible that we will declare the works of our God, that we will extol his name together. And, the mothers will sing to the daughters and the sons to the fathers. And yeah, I think we're really blessed as a family, really blessed.
Yeah. And so let's round it off. One more good question. Do you have a good question, Bex?
Hour.
This feels
Almost
like a
an
long
hour.
session. Isn't this a long?
It's an hour.
I had a good question too.
You don't normally do this long, do you?
No, not at all. No, it's story time
But
now.
special guest here today.
Oh, what do you see for the future of Harmony?
Well, I think we just have continue to grow. I mean, anything that's healthy grows. So we need to keep growing. We need to keep expanding. I think not just in the sense of numerical in church, in people, how many people get saved. Of course, it's absolutely what we want, but also influence. That people really become more influencers. They become leaders in there, and wherever they do this, in the politics or the business life or a teacher or whatever you are, nursing, whatever you are, you actually become a leader. And then, of course, much more effectiveness in community ministries, helping people, a lot more things in the community. We just started a community trust, a new community trust, Harmony Community Trust, where we want to start raising funds to do stuff like we did with 24/7, to have some of our leaders in the schools, to make an impact in the schools, food banks. We've got 2 food banks now, and we've got all kinds of stuff. So much more into helps people to be the hands and feet of Jesus and not this great theology, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've really, I think during this COVID time, I think one of the things, the realizations I've come to, and something I've been thinking a lot about is, how can we really go encourage deeper growth in people and individuals, because as we grasp the ancient truths of the good news of the gospel, and we start applying it in our lives and truly applying it in our lives, that in itself is going to build the most amazing community that everybody's going to want to be part of. You know, if you read in the beginning of Acts, and it's talking about the new church and the new Christians and how they lived. You know, they loved one another. They sold their houses and, you know, gave each other cars and and they looked out for one another, and but they only did that because they understood the truth of the good news, because we don't do that out of, you know, a sense of unselfishness. We do it because we're convicted by the amazing love that God came to share with us. And what I would love to see for us at Harmony is that we're able to more deeply implant the truth of the good news, and that people can really encounter Jesus for how amazing he is, and really grasp on to the amazing wisdom that is actually available to us, so that when life happens, and it happens, that we can be strong, and we're not going to be knocked over by winds of change. We're not going to be influenced by influences. We're going to be, instead of being thermometers gauging the temperature of what's happening in society and around us, we're going to be thermostats. We're going to be the ones setting the temperature. We're going to be the ones setting the culture.
Nice.
So that whatever happens, we're actually ahead of the pack. Because when you walk with God, you are ahead of the pack. Because God is before time. He's in time. He's through time. He is time, and he always knows what's coming. So nothing's ever a surprise. So when we're walking in that depth of relationship with him, like in our daily worship and our daily reading the Bible and just really meeting with him and talking with him, that changes our life. It changes our motivations. It changes who we are.
Yeah.
And I long that we're able to impart that and a hunger for that, hunger for more of Jesus and our people at Harmony. That's my passion. That's my desire.
That's really good. And maybe to finish also, when you're sitting here, both of you wrote this song Above It All. And I think because presence is one of our key words, presence, passion, purpose, that we'll come a church that is really also our own new songs, and there's an expression of the presence that we feel, that we know, and that the quality even of our musicians will still grow, of our singers will still grow, and the unity that we can express beautiful songs of worship to God. That'd be a dream. We haven't done an album yet. I think we should do an album sometime. So, those kinds of things are still there.
Probably
so
halfway there.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I see the future.
Yes, Jonny, what do you see?
I see. I see a place that facilitates the growth of people, but a gold calling out community where, like, for example, if you walk in the doors, God just clearly says this about you, and you already know it, or like you already feel the calling. But what does it look like for me to help you on that journey?
Nice.
Like, what does it look like for the person around you to help you on your journey within that gold?
Nice.
Because, even like, even in my individual ministry, because I work with a tech, what does it look like for every single one of the people in my tech team to be influencers within tech and their worlds? What is it? Even if it's someone who they end up running a tech company or like a production company in Christchurch, and they're the best, or they get hired by someone else and they just get, they influence, in their own kind of creativity because it's, their calling. But everyone has such unique things, and what does it look like to unlock the God calling? And that, like you said, how do we scale that? What does it look like for us to help create a culture and a community where that is normal? Because that's the presence unlocks all these things. So I mean, that's just one of many, but that's the one thing that I'm like, I love, and that's the thing that I'm gonna try and carry at least.
Great.
Awesome. And you're doing that well.
Wow, you're amazing.
Trying.
You and Bex and the whole team here. You guys are awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
so blessed with not only with our family, but with our whole team.
We are
That harmony. I
very,
mean,
very privileged to work together.
we've had, some bit of a bumpy road there for a while, but I just feel I'm so proud of everybody and how everybody's just stepped up and just is, I just feel like everybody's more and more running in their lane, and it's just so beautiful to see. It's a joy.
Great joy.
It's just a joy.
Great joy.
Well, that's a bit of a history of I guess harmony, but mostly you guys really. Yep. So this is Bubble Dutch. This week we really talked more about life, I guess. But that's the whole thing is Bubble Dutch. We just talk about life theology and what I guess, because I think there's God truths within stories of our life, because it is a testimony of how we got to where collective you guys, and then where I also jumped in, popped out of you.
Popped out, jumped in.
Anyway, but yeah, no, it's been cool, and having Catherine on, my mother.
Thank you for
My
having
mother.
me, Jonny.
You didn't talk too much as well. You did good. I was a little bit nervous about that. You're one of those people that when she prays, she'll pray a sermon, and it'll be half an hour later and be like, "Amen."
And when she does a
Can I
sermon,
pray
she
now?
does a sermon,
Amen.
long sermon.
But anyway,
You're good,
she did well.
Catherine.
She did well. First time as well. Only give you like 10 minutes. You did well. But any final thoughts?
I remember the days that Catherine, me, and Michelle Hazelwood, we were just at night, dreaming at night till 3 o'clock in the morning. And I would go to bed. I couldn't even stay up anymore. And Catherine and Michelle just kept going. And Michelle, if thank you for those days. And then out of that moment,
He was living with us.
that's really where the church got started. We started to dream about what the church could look like. Yeah. And it was all about worship, and it was the presence, and about all these things we talked about. So that's really where it started. And to see now that we've got a great, thriving church is really all glory to the Lord. And that He uses us and all of us together. It's just a beauty. It's just a real privilege, a real honor.
But I'd like to pray.
Go for it.
Yes.
If you're watching tonight, I hope something of what we've shared in our faith journey has actually impacted you. But right now, in the name of Jesus, I just want to declare God's goodness over you as you're watching. I want to declare His blessing over you. And I want to pray that you would find that very essence of God's call on your life, that you might know His call, you might know the action, might know the power, and you might know the endurance of what it is to walk with Christ in a meaningful way, not only for yourself, but for those who are around you. And I just pray God's peace over you. I want to pray for all of those who are sick right now. I just ask for God's healing power to be released throughout your body for all those who are sick with COVID. And just ask, Lord, that you would just touch them, Lord, that it would just fly over them real quick. And just thank you, Father, that you are releasing more and more gems of miracles. You're wanting to see miracles released in people's lives. And anybody who's in need right now, I just want to pray for you too. And for God's provision. And I just feel like as I'm praying that there's people who are needing jobs, who are needing to see some change in their lives. I just want to pray for you that God would just bring that change.
Yeah.
Invite Him into whatever it is that you're facing right now, and just watch Him do the most miraculous things. We've seen miracle after miracle, and I just pray that for you. As you've heard our miracles, we prophesy that over you now in Jesus' name.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. And remember that you are greatly blessed, highly favored, deeply loved, and deeply in love with Jesus.
Amen.
And remember, if you have any questions, please send them through. As in for the upcoming weeks, would love to still have guests. And if you have, if you have any questions, We might do a live one every so often because it's fun to do a live one, interact with the family.
There seems to be like a few.
Yeah, there's quite
comments on there.
amen.
It's holiday time. It's
It is
family
holiday time.
time.
But anyway, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for watching and
Ka kite.
enjoy.
Ka
Be
kite.
blessed.
Ka kite anō.
I know.